All right, so let's dive into something kind of intriguing and honestly a little frustrating. Those subtle signs of attraction from women. I think we've all been there, right? Wondering, is she interested or just being friendly?
Right, yeah, like trying to crack a code.
Yeah, exactly,
Wow.
exactly. And that's what we're gonna try to do today.
Yeah, that's what we're
Yeah.
here for, to decode those little hints and nonverbal cues, see what's really going on.
Yeah. We've got a whole bunch of articles and research here. I'm really interested to see what we can find.
I think you'll be surprised by some of this stuff. Like one thing that jumped out to me was the power of a smile. Just a
Okay.
simple smile. Especially, if it's from someone you think is out of your league.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you're saying, like, if a woman smiles when she sees you, it could be a sign she's into you, even if it's just a quick smile.
It's a definite possibility.
Mm.
Think about it. When we like someone, we want to seem approachable, inviting, and a smile is a great way to do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Like a green light, right? Hey, I'm open to this.
Makes sense. It's like when someone smiles at you from across the room.
Yeah,
It can give you a little boost of confidence, makes you feel drawn to them.
totally. And here's another thing. Proximity.
Okay.
Have you ever noticed if someone's interested in you, they're always kind of finding reasons to be near you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They, like, gravitate towards you.
Yeah, like there's a magnet or something.
I'm totally, yeah.
But it's more than just physical closeness. It's creating a space you share. Research has shown that being around someone repeatedly, it actually makes you like them more, even if you don't realize it.
Really? Subconsciously?
Yeah.
Interesting. So she sits near you at work, at a party, on the bus, whatever. That could mean she's like subconsciously attracted to you.
Yeah, exactly. Sending a signal that she likes being around you.
Wow, that's really interesting. So we've got a smile, we've got proximity. What else? What other subtle signs should we be looking for?
Well, how about this? Have you ever noticed someone might start playing with their hair when they're talking to you, especially if they're interested?
Yes. Absolutely, like they're preening or trying to like get you to notice them. I've always wondered about that. Is that like a real sign or just a nervous habit?
It can be both,
Yeah.
but yeah, when you see it with other cues, it often means attraction. I mean, think about it. When we like someone, we want to look our best.
Right.
So playing with your hair, it's like a way to subconsciously make yourself more attractive.
Yeah, yeah, like, hey, look at me.
Exactly. And speaking of subconscious signals, have you ever heard of mirroring body language?
I think so. Is that when someone like copies your movements? Like you lean in, they lean in.
You got it. It's really fascinating. When we're into someone, we tend to mirror their posture and movements, creates a kind of rapport, shows you're on the same wavelength.
Wow. So if she's mirroring my body language, that's a good sign.
It's definitely something to pay attention to. And while you're at it, listen to her tone of voice. When people are attracted to someone, research shows their voice often gets softer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, almost melodious, like they're trying to draw you in.
Wow. So many subtle signals to decode. This is like learning a whole new language.
It is. It's the language of attraction.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Okay, so this next one is a bit of a mystery to me. Exposing the neck. How is that a sign of attraction?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. You might be surprised to learn that exposing the neck is a deep-seated subconscious sign of vulnerability and trust.
Okay.
Evolutionarily, the neck is a very vulnerable spot.
Right.
So by tilting her head or brushing her hair aside to expose it, she's subconsciously inviting a closer connection, signaling she feels comfortable with you.
So it's like saying, I trust you.
Exactly.
Wow, that's really interesting. But what about nervousness? When you get nervous around someone you like, does that mess up all these body language cues?
Not at all. In fact, nervousness can actually be a sign of attraction in itself.
Really?
Yeah. If she seems jittery, shaky hands, voice is unsteady when she's around you, it might be because she's trying to hide her true feelings.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I've definitely been there. Heart racing, palms sweating, trying to act cool.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that make it harder to read her cues? I mean, how do you tell if she's leaning in because she's interested or just trying to, like, steady herself?
Yeah, that's where it's important to look at the overall pattern of her behavior.
Okay.
Instead of just focusing on one thing, look for clusters of cues. If she's showing multiple signs of attraction, even with a little nervousness, it's worth paying attention to.
So look at the bigger picture, not just one little thing.
Exactly.
Okay. But what about when someone's really trying to hide their feelings? Are there any signs that can, like, cut through that?
One of the most telling signs, even if she's trying to play it cool, is how she uses her eyes. Have you ever noticed what we call short glances?
I think so. Is that like when someone looks at you quickly and then looks away when you catch them?
Exactly. It's a classic move.
Hmm.
You see, for many women, holding eye contact with someone they like can be too intense, too revealing.
Right, yeah.
So these quick glances, it's a way to check you out without being too obvious about it.
So if you catch her peeking, it doesn't necessarily mean she's not interested.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It's all part of the dance of attraction.
I like that, the dance of attraction. So for those of us who maybe aren't so good at reading body language, are there any other clues we should watch out for?
Absolutely. One of the most telling signs is how much attention she pays to the details. If she remembers little things you've told her, your favorite band, a funny story you shared, even just a passing comment about your weekend plans,
Okay, yeah.
it shows she's genuinely interested in you, in who you are.
So it's like she's filing those details away because they're important to her.
Exactly. It's more than just making conversation. It's showing she's invested in getting to know you better.
So if she remembers that I mentioned loving that documentary about underwater basket weaving, that's a good sign.
It could be, especially if she brings it up weeks later or finds an article about it to share. Suggests she's not just listening, but thinking about you, even when you're not around.
Okay, so details are important. What about compliments? Are those always a surefire sign of attraction, or can they be misleading?
Yeah, that's where things get a little trickier. Direct compliments like you have beautiful eyes, those are pretty straightforward.
Sure.
But what about what we call indirect compliments?
Indirect compliments. I'm not sure I've heard of those. What are they?
They're compliments disguised as observations or casual remarks. Like instead of saying, you look great, she might say, I really like your new haircut.
Oh, I see. So she's trying to express admiration without being too obvious about it.
Exactly. Testing the waters to see how you react.
Got it. So if she notices my new shoes, compliments my taste in music, maybe there's more to it than meets the eye.
Absolutely. It's about paying attention to the subtext, those little hints that say more than words alone.
This is fascinating. I feel like a detective or something. But, sometimes it's hard to tell if she's genuinely attracted or just being friendly.
Right.
How do you know the difference?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's where context is crucial. You got to look at the whole vibe of your interactions. Does she go out of her way to spend time with you?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a playful energy between you? Does it feel like there's something more than friendship there?
So it's all about looking at the whole picture.
Exactly. Here's another thing to consider. Effort. Does she seem to, make an extra effort to look good when she's around you?
Oh, you mean like dressing up, wearing nicer clothes, maybe putting on more makeup, like she's trying to impress me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It might be subtle, but if she amps up her style game when you're around, it could be a sign she wants to catch your eye. Present her best self.
Makes sense.
Wants to stand out, make a good impression.
Right, yeah.
Now, it's not a foolproof guarantee, but it's definitely something to notice. Shows she's putting in the effort, which says a lot about her interest.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've covered smiles, proximity, eye contact, compliments. We've decoded a lot of subtle signs here today.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious, what about those times when you just can't figure out what she's thinking?
Yeah.
What's the best way to handle that uncertainty?
Well, that's where open and honest communication comes in. All these cues we talked about, they can be helpful, but they don't replace a good conversation.
Right.
If you're really into someone, the best thing to do is just ask how they feel.
Great advice. So while all these subtle signs are fun to analyze, nothing beats clear communication.
Absolutely. And you never know, you might be surprised by what you hear. Sometimes the most direct approach is the best.
Yeah, that's true. I have a feeling we're going to uncover even more fascinating stuff in the next part of our deep dive.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
me either.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive into the often confusing, kind of mysterious world of subtle signs of attraction from women.
Right.
In the last part, we were talking about, smiles, proximity, body language, all those nonverbal cues. I gotta say, I feel like I'm already becoming a bit of a body language detective myself here.
Yeah, it's all about tuning in to those little things.
Yeah, exactly. And, I'm ready for more secrets of attraction. What else should we be looking out for?
Okay, well, let's talk about something that often gets overlooked. And that's the effort someone makes to kind of connect with your interests.
Okay.
Have you ever had someone maybe suddenly become interested in a hobby you mentioned, or start watching that weird documentary you love.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely had that happen. It's like they're trying to see the world through your eyes a little bit.
That's a great way to put it. It's subtle, but it's powerful. Building common ground,
Yeah.
showing they're interested in what matters to you. It goes beyond just small talk.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
shows a real desire to connect on a deeper level.
So if she starts quoting lines from my favorite movie or suddenly develops an interest in that niche video game I'm obsessed with, it might not be a coincidence.
Right. It could be genuine interest in what you're passionate about.
Right.
Or maybe it's a way to create that sense of shared interests.
Okay. Yeah.
But either way, it's a good thing. I mean, studies show that we tend to be more attracted to people we see as similar to ourselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like you meet someone who loves the same like obscure band that you do.
Yeah.
You instantly feel like you have something in common.
Exactly. And that shared enjoyment, it can definitely fuel attraction. It's like you're building a bridge, right?
Yeah.
You're creating opportunities for more conversations, shared experiences, maybe even some playful teasing about who's the bigger fan.
Right, totally. Okay, so shared interests, those are important. What about when a woman goes out of her way to help you?
Mm-hmm.
Is that always a sign of attraction, or could it just be that she's like, a good friend?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it's a tricky one. Offering help, it can definitely be a sign of attraction,
Okay.
especially if it's consistent, and there's a real desire there to make your life easier. Could be anything.
Yeah.
Offering to proofread something you're working on, helping you move, or just being a good listener when you need to vent.
So it's about going like above and beyond,
Yeah.
showing that she really cares.
Exactly. She's demonstrating that your well-being is important to her,
Yeah.
that she wants to be there for you. But here's the thing. To figure out if it's just friendly or something more, you got to pay attention to her body language, tone of voice when she offers that help. Is there warmth there, A playful energy? Maybe even a little hesitation could mean she's a bit nervous.
Yeah. Okay, so it's about looking for those little extra clues, not just the actions themselves.
Exactly. And speaking of actions, speaking louder than words, let's talk about initiating contact. If she's the one constantly texting you first, suggesting plans, finding reasons to reach out, that could be a sign she's thinking about you and wants to stay connected.
Yeah, that makes sense. It takes effort to initiate contact. So if she's doing it regularly, she must enjoy talking to me.
Right. It's like she's saying, hey, you're on my mind. I'm not afraid to reach out.
Which can be really refreshing these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Takes courage to put yourself out there, especially early on, right?
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, her initiating contact, that's definitely a positive sign. But, what about the opposite? What if she seems distant, withdrawn? Does that mean she's just not interested?
Yeah, good question.
Not necessarily. You got to remember, people react to attraction in different ways.
Right.
Some people become more outgoing, expressive,
Mm-hmm.
while others, they might kind of pull back a bit. Sometimes people actually withdraw when they're starting to have stronger feelings.
Oh, interesting. So it could actually mean she's more interested than she's letting on.
It's definitely possible. She might be overwhelmed, maybe a little scared of rejection. It's like that saying, the deeper the well, the longer it takes to draw water.
Okay, yeah.
Sometimes the people who seem the most guarded have the most to offer.
That's a good analogy. It reminds us not to judge too quickly based on, first impressions. There could be a lot going on under the surface.
Exactly. You got to respect her space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not push for more than she's ready to give. But if you notice a sudden change in how she's acting, it's worth considering that maybe her feelings are evolving, maybe in a way that's making her feel a little vulnerable.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's easy to assume the worst when someone pulls away, but sometimes it's a sign that something deeper is developing.
Absolutely. And, if you're feeling confused, unsure, the best thing to do is just talk to her.
Yeah.
Ask her how she's feeling, what's going on. Open communication, it can really clear up a lot of misunderstandings, and it can help build a stronger connection.
I agree. Communication is so important, so much better than just letting things fester, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about shared interests, helping out, initiating contact, even pulling away. Anything else we should be mindful of as we, navigate this complex world of subtle signs?
One more thing. Pay attention to how she reacts to your jokes,
Mm-hmm.
your playful teasing. If she laughs easily, banters back, and seems to genuinely enjoy your sense of humor, That's a fantastic sign that there's a spark there.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely noticed that. Shared laughter, it can really create a sense of closeness, a sense of connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a way to bond,
Yeah.
show you're on the same page. Humor, it's a powerful thing. It breaks down walls,
Mm.
creates a feeling of ease, comfort, and if she's teasing you back, it means she feels comfortable enough to engage with you on that level.
So it's about finding that balance between like humor and flirtation.
Yeah,
Yep.
creating that playful dynamic, keeping things light and fun.
Right.
It's about creating an environment where you can both relax, be yourselves, and just enjoy each other's company. And who knows, maybe that playful banter could lead to something more.
I love that. So we've covered a lot in this episode. Shared interests, acts of service, initiating contact, the power of playfulness. We've explored so many of these subtle signs that could, hint at attraction.
Yeah, it's been a real journey into nonverbal communication. It's fascinating, isn't it? The subtle dance of attraction.
It really is. I feel like I'm starting to see these interactions with fresh eyes.
And remember, all these signs, they're just a starting point. The most important thing is to trust your gut. Be open to the possibilities. And, don't be afraid to communicate.
Right, right. Because in the end, clear communication, that's the foundation of any strong relationship.
Absolutely. So go out there, pay attention, and most importantly, don't be afraid to have those real conversations.
Love it. All right, well, we're moving into the final part of our deep dive soon. Let's see what other insights we can uncover. All right, welcome back to our final part of our deep dive into the fascinating world of subtle signs of attraction from women. I mean, we've really covered a lot of ground here. Body language, eye contact, shared interests, even like playful teasing.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible how much information can be hidden in those like little gestures, those tiny interactions.
Yeah, like we're learning this whole secret language.
Yeah.
The language of attraction, where actions, they really do speak louder than words.
Exactly. And I'm definitely feeling ready to put all this knowledge to the test,
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, is there anything else we should keep in mind as we're trying to, decipher these subtle cues?
Okay, so here's something to remember. We've been talking about all these individual signs.
Right.
But, the key is to look at the whole context of the interaction.
So it's not just about focusing on one specific gesture or one comment. It's about taking everything into account, the whole picture.
Exactly. Think of it like putting together a puzzle, right?
Okay.
Each piece on its own, it doesn't really tell you much.
Mm-hmm.
But when you put them all together, you get a clear image.
So we need to be like holistic detectives, looking for patterns and connections rather than getting hung up on one little detail.
Exactly. So if she's constantly finding reasons to be close to you,
Right.
remembers little things you've said,
Mm-hmm.
her body language is open and inviting, that's a much stronger signal than just a smile or, one compliment.
Right. So it's about those clusters of cues, those patterns that start to emerge, like connecting the dots to see the bigger picture.
And here's the cool thing. The more you pay attention to these subtle signs,
Mm-hmm.
the more you'll just naturally pick up on the nuances of how people interact.
Yeah.
You'll start to notice things you never even saw before, not just in, romantic situations, but in all your relationships.
Wow, that's really interesting. So this deep dive, it's not just about figuring out if someone's attracted to you.
No.
It's about becoming more aware, more perceptive in all parts of our lives.
Yeah, it's about growing your emotional intelligence.
Right.
Really tuning in to those unspoken messages that people are always sending.
I love that. So as we wrap up this really fascinating exploration, what's the one big thing you want our listeners to take away?
Okay, even though all these signs are helpful, the most important thing is to trust your gut and to be open, honest in your communication. If you feel a connection with someone, don't be afraid to say something.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not sure how someone feels about you, the best thing to do is just ask.
Yeah, that's so true. Clear communication, it's the foundation of any strong relationship.
Absolutely. So go out there, pay attention to those little cues, and most importantly, don't be afraid to have those real from the heart conversations.
This deep dive has been eye-opening, really. I feel like I've cracked the code of attraction a little bit.
That's great. And remember, the journey doesn't stop here. Keep observing, keep learning, and keep connecting.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this fascinating adventure into the world of subtle attraction. Until next time, keep your eyes open and keep those hearts open as well.